Welcome to the Nurse Shark Academy Show, a Baxter Professional Services production. Welcome to the Nurse Shark Academy Show, where we're experts in nursing and experts in business. I'm Tina Baxter, your host. The Nurse Shark Academy Show highlights nurse business owners and others in the healthcare field who promote entrepreneurship. We interview nurse leaders and encourage them to tell their story. Today's episode is how one nurse's love for science and basketball drew her into nursing. And today's guest is Ava Bethea. Attention nurses, looking to take your nursing knowledge and turn it into a viable business? Ready to take action, but don't know where to start? Join the Nurse Shark Academy. We support nurses as business owners and leaders. We offer career and entrepreneurial coaching for nurses or other healthcare professionals. Whether you're a brand new nurse, a seasoned health professional, or building a startup, join a community of support. Entrepreneurship can be lonely, but it doesn't have to be. Our career and business coaching services are designed to help you achieve the life-work balance you desire. Our experienced coaches will help you identify and attain your career and business goals, enabling you to become more successful in both your personal and professional life. I'm Tina Baxter. I founded the Nurse Shark Academy because I believe every nurse is a hero on his or her own epic journey. Nurses are launching new businesses every day. You don't have to do it alone. Join the Nurse Shark Academy and get the support, training, and coaching that you need to launch your successful nurse business. Become a member at the NurseSharkAcademy.biz. And welcome to the Nurse Shark Academy Show. I'm Tina Baxter, your host. The Nurse Shark Academy Show highlights nurse business owners and others in the healthcare field who promote entrepreneurship. We interview nurse leaders and encourage them to tell their story. My mission is for you to own your seat at the table of nurse entrepreneurship, gaining the confidence, skills, and freedom to live your life on your own terms. You will dream big and expand your consciousness as an entrepreneur. Join us and support these wonderful nurse entrepreneurs and leaders. Today's guest is Ava Bethea, and she's from North Carolina with NursiConnect. Welcome to the show, Ava.
Hi, Tina. Thank you so much for having me on this show. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, it's so great to have you. So the question we always ask all our guests at the very beginning, what made you become a nurse?
Oh, what made me become a nurse? It was the fact that I really like science. Nobody in my family was a nurse. I had no type of nursing interactions. There was no moment where I interacted with a nurse and I became a nurse. It's solely because I really enjoyed science. Initially, I wanted to be an environmental scientist. But I went on like a college tour. I got an offer to play college basketball at a small school in the mountains here in North Carolina. And they took me on the tour and they showed me the May School of Nursing. Oh my gosh, I fell in love. They were telling me all the science that was involved, like around being in the nursing profession. I was like, I did not know nurses needed to have such a big science background. So I was like, okay, I'll try nursing. You know, you get to interact with the patients. There's still a lot of science involved. I just found out a couple weeks ago you could become a nurse scientist. I did not know that. I saw it on LinkedIn. I was like, oh my gosh. So that might be in the books for me. But yeah, I just really enjoy science. And I came to find out I really enjoy caring for people, and nursing kind of brings that into one thing. So that's kind of what made me or drew me into nursing. Other than that, I had no idea about it until that moment.
All right. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, and so did you go, when you went to school, did you go in, you said you're playing basketball?
Yes. That was my whole thing in high school, was to go to college on a basketball scholarship. And the NCAA, when they're like looking at athletes, they'll do like an official visit. So they'll let you come to the school, tour it, see if that's where you want to be, meet the players. And during that time, they showed me the May School of Nursing. And that's kind of where I got connected. I was like, oh, this is the college I want to go to. If I can play basketball and still get my nursing degree, this is where I want to be at. So yeah.
So did you play, okay, so having been in nursing school, I'm like trying to wrap my head around this. So did you play basketball while in nursing school? Because that's got to be tough to do.
I did. and I did not know how her nursing school was or anything like that, because I told you I had no nursing interactions or experience or nobody to like guide me through nursing school. So I'm just in there, eyes wide open, going through all the things, but I still had to show up at practice and clinicals. It was a little bit challenging, but I liked that the school was small. So we had like 12 nurses in our class, maybe 13. And so the professors kind of already knew about, there were other athletes in the class too. There was a girl that played soccer and volleyball, and then I was the girl that played basketball. So they kind of knew the schedules and things like that. And they were willing to work around it, which really attracted me to that school. So it ended up working out.
Well, yeah, I think that's amazing because, when I went to nursing school for my baccalaureate, they basically said, yeah, you may work, but probably not that much.
Yeah, it was a time, but I would do it again. The basketball part, the nursing part, no. But I would definitely do the basketball part again. That was very fun. I enjoyed it.
Okay, all right. So you graduated with your BSN then in nursing?
Yes, I graduated my BSN in 2021. So like right during all that pandemic mess, like I was able to slide up out of there, because at first they were trying to tell us we couldn't sit for NCLEX because we didn't get so many hours because the pandemic, there was a lot of clinical sites that were shut down. And they're like, well, you guys might have to stay another year. I said, excuse me? Oh, no, ma'am. I have to graduate 2021. So we got it all worked out, and I was able to graduate in 2021 with my BSN.
Well, what's interesting here, we had students that were in their senior year.
Uh-huh.
And so what they basically did was say, yeah, you can do your clinicals. We're going to make you work in the hospital.
Wow.
The ones that graduated that May, they couldn't sit for NCLEX for a while because of everything. So they just worked them as graduate nurses.
Wow.
Yeah. They kind of, yeah.
I guess it kind of worked out. You still got the experience, but I mean, everybody wants the license, right? That's
right.
The pay increase. Everybody wants the license.
They gave them a provisional license.
Yeah, I did hear about that for a few people. They had like a provisional. They had like the emergency licenses too at that time. They were giving out or letting the nurses, But yeah, that they were trying to tell me I had to stay a whole nother year. I was like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Oh no. No. So yeah. Yeah, I got my BSN. I did the 4-year program. If I was really smart, I would have got my 80 in first and then made the hospital pay for it. I did not know till after I graduated that was an option. But if nurses are listening, do that. That's an option.
Yes. Well, did you get a full ride with your basketball scholarship though, or was it?
No, I got like a partial. I got most of it paid for, but I still have like a good chunk still to pay for my student loans. Maybe a little less than $10K. But I was just happy to have it paid for, something paid for it,
I can understand that, and there's creative ways to go to school. So getting your ASC or ADN first might be a good career path at a community college, then going on to a larger university. I know several nurses that have done that because it's cheaper.
Yeah, a lot cheaper.
Particularly if you're in state. So if you're in your home state and you could pay in-state tuition somewhere, that's good. But then again, you could have the opportunity where you can piecemeal some scholarships. This is something with some of the students that I talk to, they aren't as proactive in finding scholarships. Back when I went to school, again, I'm dating myself, but back when I went to school, how you found scholarships is you went to the local library and there's this big book that lists all the scholarships in the nation.
Yeah.
This is before the internet. Okay. And so you would go through this big book and you would see what you would qualify for and you would apply. And that's how I got a scholarship from, the Deltas. They gave me a scholarship when I was a freshman. I got a matching scholarship from the university through my church. I got another scholarship from the school because they had money set aside for minority students that they had, for a certain scholarship who met academic criteria. So you had to keep a certain GPA to keep it. Which
Wow.
had to be academic criteria, which was easy because I graduated as valedictorian. So it's like, I got that one.
Yeah,
That was easy.
that's fine.
Keeping it, that was a whole different story. Because this
I
is
bet.
when I was doing my bachelor's in biology. And so then, what else? I had a band scholarship. That was the other one. So I played clarinet since the fifth grade.
Oh wow.
So I turned that into money.
I know that. I know that's right.
So my first trip through college, it was paid for. My dad picked up what was not paid for with scholarships, but most of it was scholarships and grants and things like that. No student loans. My first
Oh
time around
yeah.
for 5 years.
5 years. Oh my
Yeah, I
god.
was a biology major and I had two minors. And then I was on my way to figuring out what I really want to do in my life. And I told my parents, I said, yeah, I'm not going to go to grad school. I want to go to nursing school. And my dad said, well, that's fine. You don't have to go to medical school, but you got to pay for this one.
I, Look, nursing school or going to school period is not cheap at all. You said 5 years.
No,
That's easily a whole over 6 figures right there. Five years of school easily.
easily,
hmm
easily.
Without that's just the books by themselves.
Yeah, it's so funny, because you talk about science, and I was a science major. And so our textbooks were like these heavy tomes that you carried around.
Yep.
And I would have my elementary education roommate who would be like, I have to make all these little note cards about my projects that I'm going to do in these classes. And I'm just looking at her like, I'll trade you the note cards if you want
Yeah,
to
you
do
got to
this.
do the half of this over here.
I got to go to the lab at 6 a.m. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh my gosh, yes. Oh my gosh. Clinicals. That's when nursing school got really, really challenging for me was the clinicals, like getting in
Mhm.
those hours because the way our nursing school was, the clinicals were 2 hours away from campus. So to be there at 7 a.m., you're getting up, right? At like almost 4 or 5,
Mhm.
get there all day for 12 hours and then driving back to campus. That's when it got really challenging. And then having to go to class the next day. I'm like, y'all.
So they made you do 12-hour shifts.
Yes. Yes. The
Oh,
whole
yeah.
the whole time.
That's because probably the hospital was on 12s, weren't they?
Yep. Yep. We did
Yeah.
we did most of our clinicals in the hospital, and then my senior year we started doing like more community-based clinicals, urgent care, children's homes, things like that. But for the most part, we were in the hospital.
Yeah,
Before all the COVID stuff, we were in the hospital.
yeah, the hospital. We did 8-hour shifts. Thank goodness.
Oh, yeah.
Because I had to work. I still had to work. I had.
Yeah, you had to live your life, right? No.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
2 hours to clinical.
And so, what was your first job coming out of nursing school? Where did you land?
Yeah, I ended up working at I'm from North Carolina, so I ended up working at Duke University Hospital as a float pool nurse for my first like big girl nursing job. Super scary now that I reflect on it, like being a new nurse floating around the hospital. I don't know why they offer that to new nurses because oh my gosh, I got trained to work on one unit for 8 weeks. And then after that, I was floating around the hospital. Now, granted, it was kind of the same kind of workflow, but the patient populations were just a slightly bit different. I was part of the medical surgical float pool. So it was kind of the same, but it was still different. But that was a big learning experience in itself.
Mhm.
Just learning the different populations. I didn't really understand the workflow of the hospital because we did clinicals at the hospital, but I wasn't a nurse. Like, I was just a student, you know?
Right.
So I didn't really understand the workflow of the hospital at first, all these providers, consults, the patient coming in with all these disease processes, and you're trying to manage the disease process and what they came in for. And it's just like, it was so much going on. I had like 5, 6 patients at a time. There was a lot going on.
That's a lot for a new grad.
Oh my gosh, I was anxious every time I came into work. My pre-shift anxiety was so bad. It was so bad. It was so
And,
bad.
and it was also during the time, again, we were still very much into the pandemic at that time, too.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think when I first started working, they were like putting out the vaccine mandate for healthcare workers. Like they gave me an ultimatum: if I don't get this vaccine, I cannot work in this hospital, and that was that. And I was like, was such a dilemma. I was pregnant at the time. They still didn't know what, the COVID vaccine did to pregnant people. And I'm just like,
Mhm.
but I have to work. So yeah, it was so many different elements going on at that time. And I was a brand new nurse. So yeah.
Yeah, see, I was waiting for a vaccine because my husband's immunocompromised. So my thought was, I don't want anybody giving me anything that I can give to him that could kill him.
Yeah.
So I'm
Right.
like, we gotta find something quick.
Well, they put it out quick, real quick.
But here's what people don't understand is that a lot of that science technology was already there.
Mm-hmm.
We had types of variants and stuff, nothing like COVID. This is new, but I'm saying we had other things like, because I remember when bird flu came out the first time, and they were making everybody get a second flu shot because of bird flu. And it was like
Mm-hmm.
no big deal. Everybody just in healthcare, at least we just went, got it, whatever, the ones that were taking it. But I think COVID was a little bit different because we didn't know exactly what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
It happened so rapidly across the entire world.
Yeah.
And the reaction that people had to it, to the whole vaccine program, is similar. If you go back and study history, when they had the smallpox vaccines and the polio vaccines, people did the exact same thing. Even though polio was devastating, killing children, making them disabled, there were people that were like, "Don't take that; it's poison. It'll kill you." So this is something that we've seen before, but it's been so long since we had any type of major pandemic that we just didn't know how to handle it because we can't. It was never in our recent memory,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it's the same thing that people said. And the reason why I know that is because I did a little bit of research into this because I teach TB. And so I did a little bit of research about, the polio vaccine, TB, tuberculosis, how that all came about, all those things. And they were kind of around that same time, that it wasn't that long ago that we still had people in iron lungs. We still had people in iron lungs. And so I think a lot of times we just forget, and there's all this misinformation. What was different now was the internet. That's the difference, because you got information so fast. It was really hard. One day it's like, okay, wear a mask, don't wear a mask, go to work, don't go to work. It was like, wait, what are we doing? which is
Yeah.
which is how my other show got started, actually, was during that time, because I was just telling people, hey, this guy's got hand sanitizer, this is where you can get it. I was doing that for healthcare workers, on doing a Facebook Live. Oh, I just found out these are the latest numbers for our community. I wanted you to know, and that's how the other news show grew, was
Wow.
because of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I would tune into that. But at that time, I just wanted to know where the toilet paper was because
Yep,
everybody was buying everybody was buying it up.
yep, yep.
So yeah.
We would go on and talk to each other and say, "Hey, this place has meat." I mean,
Right.
the shelves were bare.
They
Okay, it
were.
was crazy, and then they would only let you buy like 4 cans at
Yeah,
the store.
yeah. They limited the items. Oh my gosh, you would
Mhm.
it was 2012 or something. It was the end of the world. It was so many things happening. I left school for spring break. I left campus, and then I could not go back to school for like 3 months. Um Left all my stuff in the dorm just because it just stopped the whole world, like dead in everybody's tracks. It just stopped the world. I never seen nothing like it.
Yeah, we sit home. Our boss said, "Okay, we're gonna go ahead and close. We'll probably reopen in a week or two." So we closed for a couple of weeks, and we're like, "Wait, we're not opening back up." Okay,
Mm,
so we're gonna come back. We're gonna work a little bit, and we're gonna, put the mask in place and all this kind of stuff,
right.
and sanitize. So that lasted for like a couple of weeks. Then it was like, okay, no, we're gonna go home. Now we got to figure out how to do telehealth, because the
Yup.
rules came out in Indiana to allow us to do telehealth, because before it was really hard to do telehealth. And so they said, okay, now we're gonna do phone calls, and we have phone calls and Microsoft Teams for a while is what we were doing, because that's all we had. Then we finally got to our own platform and everything that we can make virtual a actual part of our practice. But it took a while. So I was at home for like 2 years. working from home. And then they're like, okay, we're going back. And I'm like, I told you, if you sent me to work from home, I'm not going to want to come back. So it was hard coming back. I go in and we're all sitting in our offices like with our masks on still. It's like, hey, how are you? We come out, it's like, wait, there's people here.
Last time I saw you was
Patients would come in and I'm like, every time they cough, I was like, well, wait a minute. Back up.
gotta go
Sit,
quarantine.
sit on the back of the wall. Don't move that chair. It's 6 feet away. I measured. Don't move that chair. It's that kind of stuff. It was interesting. I think in a way, it was horrible that we lost so many people, but I also think that it was good that we saw what our vulnerabilities are in healthcare, because I think that really is helping us with a push toward improving our healthcare. So, being in the hospital and working in the float pool, how did you then become that inpatient virtual nurse?
So I worked in a float pool for a little bit of time, and then, like I said, it was during the pandemic. Like it was just became more and more stressful just being in that atmosphere constantly. As a new nurse, everything going on, so I did get burnt out really, really fast. I was not looking for remote nursing jobs, virtual work. I didn't even know nurses could work from home really. I wanted to go to the PACU, so I was just looking for different jobs. I had to put in my 30-day notice because I was like, you know what, I don't think this is for me anymore. Let me put in my 30-day notice. I thought it was 2 weeks. I was so heartbroken. So 30 days, I put the 30 days in. I didn't have a job at the time. I'm just like, okay, what else is out there for me? I'm looking at home health. And I'm like, nah. And then I saw they had a PACU position open at Duke Raleigh. And I was like, oh, I think I'll do that. I think I want to be in the PACU. So I was about to apply for there and then get the interview. But then on Indeed, I got another I guess job suggestion. They were looking for like telehealth RN days, 3 days a week, 12-hour shifts, doing admissions and discharges. And I was like, I was looking at it because I had to take a little bit of a pay cut to do it. I almost did not do it. And I was like, no, I think I'm going to stick with the PACU. And then the job got suggested again. And I was like, dang, it would be nice to be at home with my daughter. And I was like, you know what? Let me just try it. So I put the PACU interview on hold. I interviewed with the company that was doing the virtual nursing. They're telling me what I'm supposed to be doing, but it's not connecting all the way. They're like, okay, you're going to do admissions and discharges, and we're kind of making like a niche for ourselves. Virtual nursing is one of those newer things in healthcare. And I'm just sitting in the interview looking at her like, okay, that's fine. So I work 3 days a week from home. She was like, yeah, well, you know what? Well, you can start next week. And I was like, okay. So I pushed off the PACU. I was like, you know what? I went another way. And I'm so glad I did, because it just really changed the way that I view healthcare, nursing, technology, patient care. I mean, virtual nursing is something that we didn't even talk about in nursing school. And I really do think it needs to be part of the nursing school curriculum, the way it's folding into um, the bedside teams. Like, just being a part of the virtual nursing landscape changed my whole view on what it means to be a nurse, like in 2024. Because I was like, wow, this is what we're doing? Okay. And that's kind of how I got into it. I really stumbled across it. I didn't know it was a real thing. I just happened to find it. And so after I found it, I was already kind of on TikTok making like videos and stuff. But then I was like, let me just post like, my transition from in-person nursing or bedside nursing to virtual nursing. And that page, it really grew. A lot of nurses were super interested in still being able to deliver bedside care, but still being able to work from home, like still being able to be apart, but have a little bit more control over your life, flexibility, things like that. So that page began to grow and grow and grow. And I was like, okay, so people or nurses are interested in this. They want to learn more about it. And I was putting up resources on my page initially about it. Like some companies were hiring. It was only a handful at the time that were hiring for virtual nurses. So I would go find those jobs and post them on my page. Resources to help nurses get into remote jobs. And I was like, I really like doing this. And my mom was like, oh, you should just start a staffing agency. And I was like, the first time she told me, I looked at her, I was like, Mom, that's too much. Oh, I don't want to do that. And then the page just kept growing and growing and growing. I was like, dang, I might have to do it. I might have to do it. So then, maybe a year after I became a virtual nurse, I got super inspired and immersed into it. I was like, you know what? I think I am going to start a staffing agency, and it's called NursiConnect, where basically I train and place the nurses to be in these types of roles. I talk about inpatient virtual nursing, but it's really any type of remote nursing. Inpatient virtual nursing just has my heart. That's my little passion area. But yeah, so that's kind of what I'm doing now, as far as like virtual nursing and kind of getting nurses ready for this. I feel like it's a newer part of the workforce for nurses. The nurses that I talk to daily, they said they've never heard of this. Nurses all over the world. I just had a nurse from Canada ask me about doing this, and I was like, you know what? I'm not sure, but we'll look into it. I had another nurse from London ask me about doing this, and I was like, okay, this is a thing. This is a really cool thing, interesting thing. How can I be a part of it? What do I need to do? And NursiConnect is where I'm starting at. That was kind of a long answer if I answered your question.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. So what you're saying is that you're ready to go global with your business now.
I mean, when I'm talking to these nurses, in different parts of the world, and I'm asking them, so do you all do virtual nursing? Like, do you have this available? They're like, no, not yet, but I found your company and I want to be a part. I was like, okay. So I'm just keeping it in the back of my mind, like, how can I get, all these nurses a part of this? Because it's really something to be excited about.
I know that there are some countries that are more on the forefront of introducing technology,
Mm-hmm.
this type of technology, I should say, into healthcare. And so I'm seeing more and more of that. There was this, what was it, about a year, maybe 2 years ago, a big story that came out, and the family was upset because the doctor came in on the monitor to tell them that their dad is dying. Just
Oh
like,
my
I
goodness.
remember that story. It's stuck in my head, and I actually covered it on my show. Um,
Wow.
and I was just thinking, I said, we've come a long way from that. And I think part of the reason why it's working for the virtual nursing is because we now have telehealth. And if we didn't have that telehealth during the pandemic, people wouldn't be comfortable talking to their doctor, talking to the nurse via video screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's made it more accessible to people who can't get out or can't get into the clinic to at least get some help. Now, obviously, there's certain things that we have to see you in person, right? If your
Yeah.
leg is cut off, we're not
Yeah.
going to be able to reattach it through a screen. But it was good that we were able to keep a lot of our patients out of the hospital, because I've had patients that are like, I got to keep it together. I don't want to go to the hospital. I'm in psychiatry. And I'm like, yeah, you don't want to go there. There's sick people there. And I said that even before the pandemic.
I know
But
that's right.
I say that to say, we have some patients that we wanted to keep them out of the hospital as long as we could. And
Yeah.
this was a good way to do that. And I think by adding more technology now, obviously you're going to need the nurse at the bedside, right? You just
Right.
can't be the person on the screen. But I'm thinking about, wouldn't it be great if we had someone in there that could monitor like our residents in the nursing home, for falls, and see them and maybe alert somebody to go take care of it right away. I'm
Yeah.
just thinking of just different ways we could use this technology.
Now that technology is coming, especially with the link in with artificial intelligence and being able to detect certain changes, and that part is coming to virtual nursing. I haven't used virtual nursing, or I haven't used AI in my practice as a virtual nurse yet, but it's coming. It's coming.
Oh, it's
Whether we
coming.
want, yeah, whether we want it to or not. Now, the thing about virtual nursing and why it's working is because the virtual nurse is really there to support that bedside nurse, to kind of offset a lot of that documentation burden, the administrative tasks, really supporting doing things like the admission. Whenever you get a new admission on the unit in the hospital, it takes you about 30 minutes just to ask the patient questions, right? Now the virtual nurse is taking that over. All right. As long as the bedside nurse gets the patient settled in the bed, they have their medications, they've been assessed, they're stable. the virtual nurse can come in and go ahead and knock out all those questions surrounding the new admission. Okay, like I said, it takes about 30 minutes. So you got a 30-bed unit, and you're getting like maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 admissions. I mean, that adds up, for the bedside nurse as far as time saved just for the admission, right? And then you have the discharge. You have a unit that's turning over patients daily, like you having patients getting discharged daily. You having maybe 10 discharges. Now the virtual nurse is taking that over as well, just really supporting them in that process, and it works. I mean, the bedside nurses, they report having their time back, being able to take a lunch break. That's a big deal at the bedside. Just not having enough time to do the things you need to do as a nurse, and then kind of care for yourself, go to the bathroom, take a lunch break. Virtual nursing is kind of giving the nurses that time back they need to deliver that quality hands-on care while we're doing the daunting administrative tasks that's a part of nursing.
So
Go ahead.
I was going to say, how do the patients react when you're interacting with them and they know that they're going to see the virtual nurse? What's been your experience?
Sure. So the virtual nurse can interact with the patient in multiple ways. For this podcast, I'm only going to talk about the TV mount. So virtual nursing, whenever a patient is admitted to a room, they'll have a camera on top of the TV. Okay. And whenever the virtual nurse calls in, their call bell will make a sound. The camera on the TV, it might turn like a rainbow color or something, just to let them know that the virtual nurse is trying to interact with them and come into the room, not just sitting there watching them all day. So when that happens, that initial interaction, they're like, oh, okay, yeah, turn on the TV or whatever you got to do. And you turn the TV on and the patient's just like, oh, this is virtual nursing. Are you a real person? Is this AI? I'm like, no, I'm the nurse. I'm a real person. Okay. And at first you're like, okay, so I'll still have my in-person nurse. I said, yeah, you have two nurses. You have a nurse doing the hands-on direct care, and then you have another nurse who come around on the patients, do safety checks, a lot of patient education. So if the doctor orders a new medication, the virtual nurse can come, and a new medication, they can come and do the education on that. They've got a new diagnosis. I had a patient that had a new diagnosis of diabetes. Yes, they had the diabetes educator come, but the virtual nurse also came. Just to close those additional gaps, things like that. And I also tell them there's another person watching your vital signs, your labs, things like that. So you'll have two nurses. And they're like, okay, okay. So are you guys just watching me all day? What's going on with virtual nursing? As far as I'm practicing as a virtual nurse, I don't sit and watch my patients all day. You make a call, you leave. You go to another room, make a call, you leave, the camera shuts off. Now they have like virtual sitting and stuff for patients that are, that have dementia, ultimatum status, things like that. They do have virtual sitting, but virtual nursing is something completely different. So the patients, I usually tell them it's like a FaceTime call with your nurse in the middle of the hospital room. And they're like, oh, okay, that's cool. And so for the most part, they're with it. They're like, okay, out of a 30-bed unit, we'll probably have maybe 2 or 3 patients that decline the virtual nurse altogether. They don't want us calling in, doing anything. So for the most part, the patients do appreciate it, especially just having somebody come through and update them on the plan of care and things like that.
So is there a way for the patient to contact you as a virtual nurse, or
Now,
they just wait till you initiate?
yes, for the most part, the way that I practice virtual nursing, the virtual nurse is doing a lot of the initiation. But I know some hospitals have it where the patient can press the call bell and it goes to the virtual nurse. So there's different ways as it's being practiced. Right now, I'm not practicing where the nurse or the patient can get a hold of me. It's probably coming, but I haven't experienced it yet.
So your business is to find the nurses then for the hospitals to hire. Do the
Yeah.
nurses work for you and get paid? Like, do they pay you as a staffing agency for the nurse and you pay the nurse? How does that work?
Yeah. So we have a lot of we have different services at NursiConnect as far as staffing for these positions. So yeah, it can be like a contract position where they work for me. I'm training you, I'm placing you, and I'm releasing you to this hospital. Okay, but you're still a part of my nursing team,
Mhm.
or we do like a direct to hire service where they're like, oh, we just need this virtual nurse to work this amount of days, and then they have this type of experience or whatever. Okay, I'll go find that nurse, and I'll also train that nurse too, and then place them, and they're part of that hospital's virtual nursing team or that technology company's virtual nursing team. They're permanent. So yeah, I guess yeah, that's how that's how we do business. That's how we do our interactions. Now, the thing about my agency is that we are so niche. We only focus on virtual nursing, telehealth, healthcare. To the point where now I'm training the nurses. I'm probably the only staffing agency available that trains virtual nurses, and place them. Just because it's still an evolving thing, but I got my hand around it a little bit because I'm a virtual nurse.
Right.
So,
So
but
you're
yeah,
still practicing as a virtual nurse then as
yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah.
And
Um,
so that leads to your credibility with your other nurses because you can tell them I am doing what I am teaching you to
yeah,
do. Yeah.
yeah. I'm doing what I'm teaching you to do. I'm teaching you the best practice and what's in the literature, evidence based. When I was creating the course, um, I guess I'll back up. I did create a course about how nurses can practice as inpatient virtual nurses for my agency. But even as I was creating the course, there's still literature being developed about best practices for the virtual nurse. So a lot of the course is what I found in the literature, and then what I've seen on my day-to-day basis with the patients and the bedside nurses as far as best practices for virtual nursing. So there's still a lot of like molding and shaping going around virtual nursing,
Okay.
which is exciting.
This is going to be something very different. I was just thinking of how would this work? I'm thinking of inpatient psychiatry. Okay. So,
Mm,
in our practice, there's things that we would not do. Like we don't even have overhead paging a lot of times in psychiatric units
yeah.
because we don't want them to think that they're hearing voices coming from the ceiling telling them what to do. So I'm just trying to think of what would be the best way to utilize that. And I was just thinking about it. This is where my mind goes. Forgive me. But I was just thinking about putting the camera in the ceiling behind
Oh,
glass, so that they can't get to it, and I'm in the seclusion room, and then putting a projection like on Star Wars
maybe. I
of
don't
the
know.
nurse talking. I'm like, now how would that work with a very psychotic patient in the seclusion
Yeah.
room?
Yeah. So there are definitely limitations to virtual nursing.
Yes, yes.
So especially with your patients, your elderly patients that are hard of hearing, um,
Hmm.
sometimes they can't see very well. So when you're trying to, go over the discharge, they can't see what's on the screen. Or even the patients, like you mentioned, psychosis. If somebody's having an episode, when the virtual nurse call in, you can't see anybody. You just hear somebody talking to you, but there's nobody around. So yeah, there are definitely limitations to it. Um,
So you don't necessarily pop up on the screen,
mm-mm.
so they don't see you.
No, no, you do, but it's kind of like a virtual knock in a way. So before
Oh,
you
okay.
pop
When you
up on
come in,
the scene, yeah,
yeah.
you're like, hey, is it okay if I, turn the camera on? Are you available, for a call with the virtual nurse? This is a good time, just to still give them some autonomy, I got some
Hmm.
control of what's happening to me. People walking in and out of my room, now somebody popping up on my TV,
Yeah.
I'm just laying here sick, like, a little bit of control, just a little bit. And they can decline. They're like, no, I don't feel like talking right now, or no, I'm not available, things like that.
Though I'm thinking about it. I'm a big Star Trek fan as well, and I'm like, I'm looking for the day where you could project yourself into the room,
It's coming.
scan them, get their vital
It's
signs. You're not
coming.
actually in the room, but you can project yourself
Wow.
in there and conduct a visit. How cool would that be if we could actually help someone that may be stuck somewhere in a mountain and they can't get to be seen? There's so many people in rural areas that it's really hard for them to get seen by a
Yeah.
provider, and they may have to travel 2 to 3 hours away to be seen, and that's a shame.
Mm-hmm. And like you were saying earlier, COVID, it just kind of opened that up. You said in your state, y'all could even really practice telehealth. Um,
Hmm.
because the world got flipped upside down. Like they're like, okay, this is something that we need to do. So yeah, COVID really opened up a lot of things, and I think this one is one of them. Virtual nursing was practiced before COVID, but it was mainly in the ICU. It
Yes.
wasn't until like COVID that we started to see it, like in the inpatient units, step down, PCU. Now it's transitioning to mother baby. Um, What else have I seen virtual nursing? Bariatric floors. That part of virtual nursing, that's different. That's the part that's like, okay, what else can we how else can we do or use the virtual nurse, outside the ICU?
Yeah, that would be fun. Now, yeah. So so it sounds like you're growing, and so I wanted to ask you, as a new business owner, because how long have you been in business?
This will be our first year in business this month. Oh
All
my
right, congratulations, anniversary. So, as a new business owner, I'm pretty sure there's been things that have been challenges. What are some of the biggest challenges you have as a business owner?
Some of the biggest challenges, one of our biggest challenges right now is because virtual nursing is such a tight area, and it's still growing, really getting in there and like doing the education about like, hey, this is how my agency can support your virtual nursing program. Well, what's virtual nursing? Then you have to go through all of that, just trying to build that I guess build that awareness and that relationship. And that's another thing because the way I chose my business model, I'm doing professional staffing solutions. I can't just walk in the door and go, "Hey, can I have a contract today?" No, I have to build relationships, engage, put myself as a thought leader, really show that my business. This is not. I'm not playing. This is what I do. I specialize in this. So it's taken a lot of patience and like developing the brand and really putting it in the forefront of virtual nursing, telehealth. Um, that's kind of some of the challenges I've experienced so far. But I still, I've been enjoying it. I didn't think that being a nurse in this space was important. Starting a staffing agency, I was like, you might start a staffing agency. You have to be a nurse. My mom said, yeah, it matters, Ava. It really matters. And she was right. She was right. It
Hmm.
matters. You have different type of conversations with your clients when you talk about what's important to them, not just trying to sell your services, right? It keeps them engaged with you longer. It keeps you, in the front of their mind. If they see, oh, this person's putting out a course about virtual nurse, we haven't seen that before. Oh, this person is starting a virtual nursing council. I want to be a part. How do I, keep engaging with this person or this business? Especially if they see what you're doing aligns with what they have going on outside of the services that you provide, it puts you in a different bracket.
One of the things that it just occurred to me is like, I wonder if you got a commercial or a promo video. No, seriously, because I think because you were talking about having to answer that question about what virtual nursing is.
Yeah.
If you had like a 2 to 3 minute tops video that kind of walks them through it, shows the little animation, shows them what it was like, give them an example of talking to a patient, that type of thing. I think that would go a long way, and then maybe they could see the value when you're
Yeah.
talking to the decision maker. So that can be part of your presentation. Well, I have this great little short video. It kind of shows you so you can see what I'm talking about as opposed to just hearing what I'm saying and showing the value. And then the other thing you can do is maybe get patient testimonials.
Maybe. But see,
Um,
we like to work with the companies that already have like
mhm,
platform established, I guess. You know what
right.
I'm saying? So I don't want them to think that I'm bringing the platform yet. I'm bringing the platform with the nurses, but um, you see where I'm going? See, I'm still
That's what I'm
I'm
saying. I'm
still
like,
working out
why aren't you building the platform,
I said
having
yeah.
the portal
I
that
said
they
yeah.
can access, license the software from you? See, I put on my coaching hat there.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say too much on this podcast, but yeah.
I'm
Um,
just giving you some ideas because I'm just thinking. I said, I'm thinking, okay, if I was a decision maker and I knew nothing about virtual nursing, what would be the quickest, easiest way to have that conversation with me so I can see it because I'm a visual person. You
mhm.
can tell me stuff all day long, but I am like, show me the evidence. I need the facts. Let me read the study. Let me see what it is. That's the type of person I am. And a lot of decision makers are that way. They want to know what makes it good for them. And you have to answer the question of what's in it for them. How does this help their bottom line? How does, because in their mind, they're going to say, oh, is this another added expense when I already have all these expenses? How do you show them that it's a benefit to them for patient satisfaction and also for employee satisfaction, and could possibly save them money by not having a lot of repeat hospital admissions because the patients have got their good instructions before they go home?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of moving parts to the business. Um, but right now, I think the biggest thing that I've seen right now with companies that are doing virtual nursing programs or hospital systems that are doing virtual nursing programs is the education between the virtual nurse and the bedside nurse. Like, how can the virtual nurse support me during my shift as the bedside nurse? Like, so they have the program up and going, but then they'll run into this roadblock. So I was like, I'm pretty sure I can make some training around this, just to put things in a little bit more perspective. Because now I've seen both sides, the bedside nurse and the virtual nurse. Um, so having that training available for hospital systems and the nurses, I think that will, help the programs progress a little bit more.
Well, they always do satisfaction surveys after the patients leave. So maybe in your contract with these places that you work with, think about asking if they can add some questions about your virtual nursing service to their patient satisfaction, and all they have to do is share with you that data. Right? It'll be anonymous. You don't have to know what the patients are. What you want to know is what was their experience and how can we improve it. And that's also a value add for them because they're going to want to know the answer to those questions too. So just a thought, but think about it. All right. So I understand that you have your class. You've talked about your paid courses, a CE course on how to practice as a virtual nurse. And you've kindly given us, any listeners that are listening here, a 10% discount off the course. You have to use the promo code Virtual Nurse 10. That's Virtual Nurse 10. I'm going to put that in the show notes. But I want to thank you. And you have to go to her website. So how do we get to your website and how do we get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can find out more about us at NursiConnect.com. And I talked a lot about on this episode about virtual nursing, but we do look to place remote nurse case managers and psychiatric nurse practitioners. And you could always submit a resume to our website and speak to a recruiter and things like that. What was the second thing you asked me?
How can they get in touch with your website? Yeah.
Okay, so NursiConnect.com. And then if you want to stay in touch, I do have a TikTok account. It is called Ava RN. And I'm also on LinkedIn as Ava Bethea. Bethea. And then I also have a YouTube channel. I'm also on there as Ava RN.
All right. Okay. And all that information will be in our show notes. So our last question, if you had one piece of advice for a budding entrepreneur, what would it be?
One piece of advice, everything is not going to happen all at one time. Or you don't have to get it all done at one time. So when I was first launching my business, I took like 6 months just to try to get everything set up, the legal stuff, the research, and like I feel like I was rushing through everything. And I just started to realize like everything's not going to happen all at one time. As much as you want to start generating revenue and get your business out there, just
And it looks like she froze for a moment. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Advice for a nurse entrepreneur, I was saying that everything doesn't happen at one time when you're starting a business or don't expect it to. So when I first launched my business, I took like the first 6 months just to try to get everything together. And I feel like I was trying to do it as quickly as possible. I know 6 months sounds slow, but and in doing that, I felt like I was rushing through the process. And so in short, just letting it just take your time going through, especially starting the business. Like I was just trying to like get it up, try to start generating revenue, and feel like I had to have all these moving parts going at the same time. And I ended up getting very overwhelmed. But no, everything one at a time, one step at a time. And that's how you really build the business, is just taking it one step at a time and not really like rushing through the process. So I guess I'm saying trust the process.
There you go. Trust the process. And I want to say, and put a process in place, right?
Yeah.
Don't just jump out there and do the thing because you've got all that back end stuff you have to do. All right. So this will wrap up our segment for today. I want to thank you for coming on. Those of you that are watching us on their YouTube channel, the NurseShark Academy channel, please don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when our next episode comes on. Those of you that are listening to us on Podbean or wherever you get your podcasts, we thank you for that. And don't forget to leave us a like and a comment. And I will say that our podcast is up for a Nursing and Podcast Award. So please go ahead and vote for us. We appreciate that. And we'll be adding that to our show notes as well. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Yeah.
Nurses, are you ready for more? My mission is for you to own your seat at the table of nurse entrepreneurship, gaining confidence, skills, and the freedom to live your life on your own terms. Assisting you in achieving your goals through tailored advice, continuous learning, and a collaborative approach is at the heart of everything I do. Stop being eaten alive. Come feel the sun. Be a nurse shark. Thank you for listening to the NurseShark Academy show wherever you get your podcasts or watching us on YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you'll know when all of our episodes come out. If you want further information, you can contact us on the NurseSharkAcademy.biz.